It's a quiet Monday morning at the BC Forest Discovery Centre in the Cowichan Valley, just north of the city of Duncan. At the time of my visit to the BC Forest Discovery Centre in August 2021, there were 13 different locomotives on site, plus one speeder. These items could be found in 5 or 6 different locations, depending on if you count the ever-moving visitor train. But for the most part, there's 2 main locations with locomotives, and then 3 other spots with just 1 or 2 items. The most obvious and easy to see item is a Shay locomotive at the entranceway to the site, visible at from Highway 19. And then once you're in the site and have gone through and paid, the next obvious item is a Climax locomotive in the gift shop. You can find 4 locomotives at the railway shed in the sunny grassy area near the logging camp buildings. There is 1 Shay, 1 Climax, 1 Whitcomb diesel, and then the hard to see item is the Hillcrest Shay number 1, which you will see various parts for just on either side of the other locomotives. When you ride the visitor train, you will go past the locomotive service area, the shops, and in there are more items that you can see from the train. For me, I was really fortunate and I was allowed to walk with an employee to see them close up so that I could do photography in the shed. Included in the shed are 2 Vulcan steam locomotives, 2 Plymouth gas locomotives, well, 3 if you count the Green Hornet that sleeps there at night, as well as a speeder. At the Drinkwater station site of the grounds, there are a couple small locomotives. They're gas-powered locomotives. There's a Brookville number 5, which was a 6-ton switcher. And there's the Vulcan number 4, which is a 4-ton locomotive that used to be used by Canadian Industries at James Island. My fact sheets for the various locomotives come from the website of the BC Forest Discovery Centre, where they show the basic information on the locomotives as well as the history. So now let's explore the locomotives and the areas where they are in detail. The Blodell, Stewart and Welch number 1 steam locomotive is the locomotive on display at the entrance to the Forest Discovery Centre. It is a Shay locomotive. I will be using this type of info sheet for each of the various locomotives that I talk about in this video, and I'm only going to show them for about 4 seconds, so all you need to do is hit pause, take all the time you want to read the sheet, and then hit play again and resume. This locomotive worked at Myrtle Point near Powell River, and then also worked at Menzies Bay, Great Central Lake, Franklin River, all on Vancouver Island. This was the first item acquired by the Discovery Centre founder Gerry Wellburn for his personal collection, and it's been on display at the museum entrance since 1966. My video views of this locomotive are just quick glimpses seen from the visitor train. There is a Climax steam locomotive just beside the gift shop. It's Shawnigan Lake Lumber Company's number 2. In 1969, a major restoration was done on this locomotive by a man named Granger Taylor. Later on, this locomotive was sold to the provincial government. That was 1973. And the locomotive actually toured the province on the provincial museum train between 1975 and 1979. It was on a flat car as part of the museum train, and it's been at the Forest Discovery Centre since 1980. The Plymouth Locomotive Works number 26 locomotive, nicknamed the Green Hornet, is probably the most visible locomotive in the Forest Discovery Centre, and that's because it's the locomotive that pulls the visitor train for, so far, all of the 2021 season. It was built in 1928. It's a Model T12, four-wheel, just one truck. If you ride the visitor train, you'll hear the narration of the story of this locomotive, how it was purchased new by the BC Electric Railway Company for use at places on the Vancouver Island, including Jordan River. Here are some video views of the Green Hornet in action. The railway shed near the logging camp buildings is home to 4 locomotives. When I visited, 2 of those locomotives were out of the shed and on the tracks, nice and easy to see and photograph from various angles. And then the diesel was in an open air shed next to a tank car, so it was difficult to get a good angle, but I could still walk down the line of it and see it from both ends. Coming up to Hillcrest Lumber's Climax number 9. That's from 1915, and behind it, the number 3 is a Shay from Mayo Lumber from 1924. And there is a 4th locomotive there, but it was in pieces. It still is. And the funny thing is that when I was there, I was completely oblivious to it. That's the famous Hillcrest Shay number 1, which has its own Facebook page for the ongoing project of doing the rebuild. And it was only afterwards that I realized that I had been standing among the various parts of it. So that locomotive project is on the Hillcrest Lumber Company's number 1, which is a Shay locomotive. It was a Class B 24-ton 2-truck locomotive. It worked on Vancouver Island in the Cowichan Lake area, and then eventually worked at the Osborne Bay Wharf, which is near Crofton. During this time at Osborne Bay, it was used as a standard gauge locomotive, and then after that it moved back to Massachi Lake and was converted back to narrow gauge. During my visit, the locomotive that just grabbed my attention is the Mayo Lumber Company number 3 Shay, just because it was the largest locomotive there and prominently displayed. That was built in 1924. It's again a model, a Class B model, 50-ton 2-truck Shay. Mayo lumber is synonymous with the forest industry in the Cowichan Valley area. This locomotive worked in various locations near and around Cowichan Lake. and then was eventually donated to the Forest Museum in 1967. But the history didn't end there. In 1995, it was restored to operation level and was loaned to the Kettle Valley Historical Railway Society in the Okanagan. Now it's back at the Forest Discovery Center, and I'm assuming that it's in near operable condition, but it is just being used as a static display item currently. Okay, I'm going to take a quick little walk around these three locomotives now. Here's the Mayo Shay number 3. And the Hillcrest Climax number 9 beside it. And here's the Mayo Shay number 3. Shay locomotive showing us the business side of the gears. Here's the wide angle. Here's the Mayo Shay. Here's the business side of things, the gears. Here's the Hillcrest Climax, number 9. The other locomotive that immediately got my attention in this display area is the Hillcrest Lumber Company's number 9 Climax locomotive. I like the look of a Climax locomotive with the mechanics at an angle on the side. You'll notice how I've chosen my words to be generic because I really don't know what I'm talking about. The Hillcrest Climax was built in 1915 to model Style B 50-ton 2-truck locomotive. This locomotive has had a long history working for various companies and eventually was sold to Hillcrest Lumber in 1936. The locomotive was donated to the Forest Museum in 1968. For a while, in the early 1990s, it was restored to operation level and even went to a rail fair in Sacramento, California, and used to be steamed up for special events, but now it is just a static display item. Here's the proof that it's the Climax. On the side here at an angle. And here's the mill switcher, the Whitcomb. What a beautiful day. Here's the Hillcrest Climax, number 9, in bright sun. The unique item in this set of locomotives is the Whitcomb diesel locomotive, which was BC Forest Products number 9 from 1943. The history on this had various places where it worked, starting in the U.S., built for military service in the U.S., and ended up at the Crofton Pulp Mill, where it was a mill switcher. And the significance to the collection at the Forest Discovery Center is that it's in that era when steam was disappearing and diesel was arriving. Tucked into the shed is the Whitcomb. It's BC Forest Products number 9 from 1943. The cozy confines here for the Whitcomb. Again, this one was used at Crofton. The significance to the collection is this is the era that bridged steam to diesel.
and back into the sun with the Hillcrest Climax.
So that's what's at this part of the Forest Discovery Center. During my visit to the Forest Discovery Center, after having had a few conversations with the train guys, me introducing myself and explaining what I was doing for video and photography, after a train trip around, they asked me if I wanted to see the locomotive shops. And I said yes, and I'm glad that I did. And so the good people made that happen. Here's a video clip that shows the location of the locomotive shed and the shop near the Drinkwater Road side of the grounds. The item that's visible in the right-hand side of the locomotive shed is the back of the Plymouth locomotive Sandy. You'll notice the 9% switchback grade going down from the shop track to the main line, and I'll show more of that later.
Your old Vulcan steam locomotive. Needing repairs, we currently only have one locomotive operating. That Green Hornet gasoline locomotive is currently pulling our train. That Green Hornet was built by the Plymouth Locomotive Works in 1928 and was purchased with road number 3.
I'm going to call this the locomotive shed. And big thanks to the people here at the Forest Discovery Center, Evan, the train conductor, who put me in touch with Ron, who has just toured me around here and given me permission to do some photographs and video from inside here. This is right near the old Drinkwater station area on the track, the shops area. So I'm going to have some fun. All sorts of different angles.
There are different angle possibilities, but it is limited because of the cozy confines of this shed. But I tried to do my best to find interesting angles to at least show all of the individual items in this area. I was thankful to get permission to climb aboard a flat car to give myself a bit more elevation, and this gave me a good view looking forward of the two Vulcan locomotives on either side of the flat car and the speeder. Vulcan number 24 is nicknamed Susie, and she was built in 1900, Vulcan Iron Works obviously. I was happy to get some, what I think are good under the circumstances, photographs of Susie standing on the flat car. Vulcan number 25 is nicknamed Samson, and it's famous because it's pulled visitor trains in the past and hopefully still will pull some special event visitor trains in the future. It just hasn't been used yet in 2021. And it was more difficult to get photographs of this locomotive just because of the cramped space, but I was allowed to climb inside, and so I attempted a photograph inside the cab looking forward, but the lighting conditions were harsh. The yellow speeder in the middle of the shed gets your attention, and it's listed as Crown Zellerback number 27. Now, I'm a bit confused on this because the fact sheet says it was built in 1949 for Crown Zellerback, and then in 1973 went to the Cowichan Valley Railway. I was also told that it was built as a replica speeder, which I presumed meant it was built specifically for the Forest Museum. I'm not sure on this, so take it for whatever it is. Just enjoy the view. Plymouth locomotive number 22 is the toughest one to see in this shed because it is tucked away at the back end of a row, and it's hard to get to, but I made the effort, and so I got a couple different angles to photograph. This was built in 1928 and was used, I think, to pull fire equipment cars, but I'm not sure. Plymouth locomotive number 23 is nicknamed Sandy, And the back end of her, haha, is famous because it's visible when the visitor train goes around past the shop area, built in 1924.
Let's just work our way down. Here on the left is number 25, Samson. Samson is a 1910 Vulcan locomotive, and this is what they have operational for things like Christmas trains and stuff like that. Lots of work put into this beauty. And here is the replica cruise speeder, number 27, Crown Zillerbach. It just oozes Mr. Swanson's design. There's Susie. Susie's number 24, Vulcan locomotive from 1900. And last is Sandy. Sandy is number 23 and Plymouth from 1925. So if you were the engineer on Samson, there's your view out the window. Looking forward, got the speeder beside you. There's the 27 speeder. Hey Susie, what's up? Hey Sandy. This is beautiful. I've got permission to be up here on this car. There's Samson number 25 on the left. There's the replica speeder. And Susie. In front of her is the number 22. And there's Sandy, the number 23. Here in the locomotive shops. I missed one of these on my first go around. Yeah, because I can't see it from here. And that's going to be number 22, a 1928 Plymouth locomotive. Getting close to Susie. And here's the number 22. We can get a bit closer. Cowichan Valley Railway on it. And looking down at Susie. Again, I'd like to thank Evan and Ron from Cowichan Valley Railway, BC Forest Discovery Center, for the time to be here. So here I am with permission at the shops, the shop track. There's the locomotive shed, various tracks. Bottom left is the main line. Second from the left is the switchback from the shop tracks going down to the main line. They talked about an average of a 6% grade. Main line has some 4% grade to it. Shop spur has some 9%. So there's the switchback track there. Main line on the left. And there's the switchback track going back down to the main line. Okay, again, shops on the left. Shop track comes out, heads on down, end of the switchback, turn the switch, and then back down the switchback line. So this is 9% grade. Let's walk down it. You can see beside me the height differential. That's as far as I should go because there's the cut continuing on with the main line. Let's go back up. Again, big thanks to the good people here at the Forest Discovery Center for allowing me access to this behind the scenes area. I am very grateful. Okay, bye-bye to the shop spur and the shops. And let's go down the shop road.
Beside the Drinkwater station is a line of 5 small items, and those items are made up of 2 locomotives, 2 crew trailers, which I misidentify as speeders in my video footage, and 1 tank car, which I think is a water tank, but I'm not sure. There is no information on these items on the trains part of the Forest Discovery Center webpage, so I did some Googling and I found out. The orange locomotive, number 5, is a Brookville locomotive. It's a 6-ton switcher. And the cool multicolor looking one at the front is a Vulcan. It's number 4. It's a 4-ton. And it worked for Canadian Industries on James Island. I'd like to thank the Toad Hollow Photography website for giving me information on this. And here's my video footage of this row of items, just taken from various angles during my visit.
It's been replaced by Alderley Station. Just past down the road is the Nicholson debarker, which was originally used at the Hillcrest Mill in Missachi Lake.
Okay, we got a couple speeders, gas locomotive. Let's get a closer look at these guys on the other side. Yeah, the other side now, a Drinkwater station.
Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it.